The story begins in 1956 in a quiet and chilly corner of Chicago. There stood a modest clothing shop, simple on the outside, but with an elegant touch that hinted at British craftsmanship. The shop belonged to an elderly man named Leonard Burling, a British immigrant who had chosen to start a new life in America. Before settling in Chicago, Leonard had been part of London's high-end fashion scene. He worked for many years at one of the most prestigious boutiques that catered only to elite clientele. But at some point in his life, Leonard decided to leave it all behind and build something of his own. He opened a small clothing shop that may have looked ordinary at a glance, but the quality of his work quietly amazed many. Leonard didn't run the shop alone. He hired a young woman named Mabel Shawn, not only skilled but full of dreams. Her biggest dream was to travel the world. Over time, Leonard's shop gained a strong reputation throughout the city. More and more influential people became his regular customers, including the Boyle family, known as the most feared and powerful Mafia group in Chicago. But the Boyles didn't just visit for tailored suits. They also used a special mailbox discreetly placed in the shop to exchange secret messages. Leonard had intentionally set it up, allowing trusted clients to drop off or collect confidential notes without raising suspicion. One evening, Richie Boyle, the only son of the Boyle family, arrived at the shop along with Francis, his father's trusted right-hand man. They came to pick up a letter from one of their informants. As always, Leonard remained calm. He didn't ask questions or act curious. He simply continued working at his sewing table.
Can I have for my pops?
And he said I should plan on making you a new suit to celebrate.
Among the stack of letters, Francis found one that stood out. It was sent by a powerful organization known as the Outfit. Realizing the sensitive nature of its contents, Richie asked Leonard to leave the room for a moment.
Oh, shit.
Will you excuse me, gentlemen?
While waiting outside, Leonard spoke with Mabel, who showed him a snow globe, a gift she had received from an acquaintance. Mabel shared that she loved collecting snow globes featuring famous landmarks like the Eiffel Tower, Big Ben, or Barcelona. It was all part of her dream to one day travel the world and see those places with her own eyes. She also wondered aloud why Leonard, with all his talent, chose to open a shop in Chicago instead of a more glamorous city.
What's wrong with you?
See you tomorrow.
After Richie and Francis left, Leonard mentioned that the man who ran the clock shop next door had asked to be introduced to Mabel. But Mabel wasn't interested. She was already close to someone. From this, Leonard began to suspect that Mabel might be romantically involved with Richie, especially since he had seen the two of them exchanging glances and smiles before. Leonard then warned Mabel. Richie wasn't just any man. He came from a dangerous family deeply involved in violence and crime. Mabel acknowledged the risk, but believed she could handle Richie on her own terms. She then asked Leonard for a raise, saying she wanted to start saving up to make her dream of traveling come true. Leonard didn't give her a direct answer, but said he might consider it if she improved her skills, even in the smallest tasks like properly folding fabric.
You're entitled to your own.
Fair enough.
After the shop closed for the night, Mabel went home, but Leonard stayed behind to finish some work. Later that night, he fell asleep at his desk and had a dream about his tragic past involving fire and loss. He was awakened by the sound of the door opening. It was Mabel and Richie, who had chosen to meet there privately. This confirmed Leonard's suspicion that the two were indeed romantically involved. During their time together, Richie confided in Mabel about his strained relationship with Francis, whom he never truly considered family. Despite Francis having saved his father's life, Richie felt his father, Roy Boyle, trusted Francis more than his own son. While listening from a distance, Leonard accidentally made a noise that alerted the couple, but he quickly pretended to be asleep and avoided suspicion. Mabel then quietly escorted Richie out so as not to disturb Leonard.
Shut that door.
Several days later, Richie and Francis returned to the shop to collect more mail as they routinely did each week. That evening, they found another envelope from the outfit containing a letter and a cassette tape. Realizing its importance, they left to report back to Roy Boyle. However, they soon returned in a panic, with Richie gravely wounded from a gunshot to the abdomen. Francis carried him into the back room and contacted Roy, explaining they had been ambushed by a rival mafia group known as La Fontaine. Roy told Francis he would come to the shop immediately to pick them up. Francis then asked Leonard to stitch Richie's wound to stop the bleeding. Though hesitant due to his lack of medical experience, Leonard eventually agreed, relying on limited combat knowledge from his past. Richie endured the excruciating pain without anesthesia and eventually lost consciousness, but Leonard managed to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, Francis took the cassette and asked Leonard to watch over Richie. Leonard refused, not wanting to be further entangled in mafia affairs. But Francis insisted this was the only safe place for now.
Need to play this tape tonight? The rat don't wake up tomorrow. Like it or not, now you're part of the family.
Francis explained that the cassette contained audio from a wiretap that recorded one of the Boyle family members, and he suspected there was a traitor among them working with the FBI. The original plan had been to listen to the tape elsewhere, but the ambush forced them to retreat to Leonard's shop. Multiple mafia factions were desperate to get their hands on this tape in order to dismantle the Boyle family. After Francis left to find a cassette player, Richie regained consciousness. Leonard shared with Richie what he had learned from Francis and asked him if he suspected anyone.
So he told you all that, but he didn't tell you where he was going.
Why would he place himself in charge, arrest him?
Leonard then proposed that the traitor might be someone close to the Boyles, but not necessarily part of the family. He casually claimed that he himself was the one who had betrayed them, but Richie dismissed this as a joke and laughed, saying Leonard was just a tailor. Leonard corrected him, saying he was not a tailor, but a cutter, a professional who had studied for years at the world-renowned fashion house called the Row in London. He explained that anyone with a needle and thread could be a tailor, but becoming a cutter required years of apprenticeship and mastery. He then speculated that Francis might actually be the traitor. Moments later, Francis returned to the shop. Before reuniting with Richie, Leonard whispered to him that Richie suspected him of being the mole and had opened the suitcase earlier.
Just thinks he can pull one over on me.
Me?
I know who the rat is, he says.
He's lost a lot of blood. He's probably light in the head.
Leonard was clearly manipulating both men to distrust each other. As a result, Richie began interrogating Francis, questioning why only he had been shot during the ambush, while Francis remained unharmed. Francis claimed it was pure luck. He then suggested playing the tape immediately, but Richie insisted they wait for his father. Their argument escalated into a physical confrontation over the tape.
You touch me again, I'll break your fucking arm. You understand?
When they discovered the suitcase was empty, both men drew their guns. Richie fired first and missed. Francis returned fire and fatally shot Richie in the neck.
Why? Because you're dumb, you're erring, slow. It's because you're weak.
As Richie died, Francis desperately searched for the missing tape. Soon after, Roy Boyle and his men arrived at the shop. Francis panicked and asked Leonard to hide Richie's body and clean the blood. By the time Roy entered, the scene was spotless. Francis lied, saying Richie had left with the tape and hadn't said where he was going. Roy then instructed Francis to find Richie and bring him back.
We're stage friends, are we?
If he shows up at any of ours, I'll hold here. I'm staying here.
I don't like him being out there any more than you do, and
Francis, bring my boy back to me.
While they waited, Roy explained that the outfit was the world's largest mafia organization with international influence, and they had offered the Boyle family an alliance because they were the only group brave enough to fight La Fontaine. The outfit had provided the wiretap tape to help the Boyles identify the traitor within their ranks. Leonard seemed surprised by this sudden transparency and asked why Roy was telling him all this, given that they had never discussed such matters before. Roy explained that he had realized Richie must still be there, as his coat was hanging in the shop, and Richie would never leave without it in winter.
Well, why are you telling me all this?
Because that's Richie's coat. That tape, the wrong hand comes crashing down. So you want to get clear of this, you need to tell me what really happened.
I've left without it.
We're in Chicago, and you went out without a coat.
Suspecting Leonard was hiding something, Roy pulled a gun on him, demanding answers.
Went to Richie Francis' shop.
Before Leonard could respond, Francis entered with Mabel, having taken her hostage. Fearing for Mabel's life, Leonard fabricated a story, claiming that Richie felt ashamed because Francis had killed for LaFontaine men while he had done nothing, and so Richie returned to confront LaFontaine to prove himself.
I ain't good at riddles.
English said you shot somebody.
Oh, yeah?
Francis shot 4 of LaFontaine's men. Richie made a promise not tell you.
Made Richie a promise, English.
He said he had to go kill someone.
Kill who?
LaFontaine.
Leonard added that Richie had asked him not to tell Roy, not wanting to cause concern. Roy then asked why Francis had brought Mabel. Francis explained that Richie might have visited her because she was his girlfriend. When Roy asked Mabel about Richie's whereabouts, she claimed she didn't know. Francis then interrupted, saying he saw blood on Mabel's carpet, possibly Richie's. Roy, growing angry, began to threaten Mabel.
No! Where's Richie?
I don't know.
Back up, English. This ain't your purview.
You can kill anyone who won't find your child. You can kill, find your child.
Leonard intervened, tried to calm him down. He revealed that he had lost his wife and daughter in a fire, and now considered Mabel like his own child. Suddenly, the phone rang, and Leonard answered. He pretended the call was from Richie, claiming he was hiding from LaFontaine and needed to be picked up from a specific address. Roy and his men left immediately, but Francis chose to stay behind.
I should wait back. Keep an eye on them, huh?
Make sure they don't go nowhere.
Leonard then revealed the truth to Francis, that he had given a fake address so LaFontaine's men could ambush Roy and his men. He also disclosed that Mabel was the traitor. Through her relationship with Richie, she had gained access to sensitive information, which she sold to LaFontaine. Knowing she would be discovered, Mabel had sought protection by cooperating with the FBI, arranging the wiretapping in exchange for safety. Leonard had known all along, but chose to protect Mabel, believing her dreams of traveling the world were worth it.
You were the fucking rat?
You stole the tape.
No, that was me.
I'm gonna love sitting in a garret reading all about your funeral.
He had hidden the real tape and given a fake one to Francis, replacing its contents with his own voice. The plan was to later hand over the authentic tape to the FBI so they could take down both the Boyle family and LaFontaine.
And A, we all die. And B, you run the Boyle. If Roy Boyle died tonight, who will be in charge of organization?
Make the goddamn call.
So what the fuck really happened to Richie?
When LaFontaine arrived at the shop to pay Mabel for the tape, Leonard and Mabel used a prearranged code to signal Francis's location.
We're not showing you the tape till we the money.
I put a gun to Roy Boyle and watch him die.
I removed all the bullets from his gun.
LaFontaine's men then killed Francis. Afterward, Leonard revealed to Mabel that he was the one who had initiated the entire scheme by sending the tape to the Boyles under the name of the outfit.
Everything that happened, you set it all up. They didn't send those messages. You did. It's just a fake.
But these two seeming suits appears to consist of two different fabric remaining Boyles, Madame LaFontaine, the murderer Roy Boyle. This contains everything that went on here this evening.
That night, Leonard instructed Mabel to take the money and pursue her dream of seeing the world.
Spend your best year taking care of I remain you.
He packed his belongings and set fire to the shop to destroy all evidence. However, Francis, still alive, emerged and shot Leonard in the arm. Leonard then revealed his own dark past. He was once a monster like Francis, but after leaving his former criminal life and moving to London, his enemies found him and murdered his family. This drove him to start over in Chicago, seeking redemption. The film ends as Leonard walks away from the burning shop, determined to leave his past behind and begin a better life.
It was work.
From this story, we learn that a dark past doesn't always have to define a person's future. Leonard Burling is living proof that someone who once lived in the shadows can still choose to change and pursue a better life. He chose not to seek revenge through violence, but instead used intelligence, patience, and conscience to protect others and redeem himself. On the other hand, this story also reminds us that greed, betrayal, and the thirst for power will only lead to destruction. In a world full of deception, trust becomes one of the rarest things, and even the smallest decisions can change everything. But no matter how deep the wounds of the past, people still have the chance to make it right, as long as they have the courage to choose the right path.